Okay, here we go. Okay.
You got the light?
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, everyone, for coming on Erev Yontif. So the topic we're going to discuss today is intriguing, but very different from usual shiur we discuss here. Usually we discuss some type of halachic topic, usually somewhere based in the Gemara, Shulchan Aruch, our regular halacha svarim which guide us in our everyday life. Today we're going to try to discuss a minhag of, as far as I know, most of Klal Yisrael, if not all of Klal Yisrael, which is not mentioned at all in the Shulchan Aruch, it's not in the Mishnah Berurah, it's not brought in our regular halacha svarim, but nonetheless it's embraced with love by most groups of Klal Yisrael. So I want to start off in source number 1 with 7 basic questions about our minhag of Oshpisin, and then hopefully as we go along, not necessarily in this order, but hopefully we'll cover most of these basic 7 questions. First question is, first of all, who are the 7 Oshpisin? Number 2 is in what order, or is there a specific order in how they come, or is it just randomized that the 7 guests will come? 3, why specifically do they come on Sukkot? We have other Yom Tovim, let's say Pesach or Shavuos or other times of the year where we have other Heilige times of the year where we don't necessarily celebrate with the Ushpizin. Number 4 is that do they need us to invite them, or are they on autopilot? Will they come by themselves? Number 5, is there anything we need to do to guarantee or to make sure that they'll attend? Or maybe they just come by, they'll just, whether we're worthy or not, maybe they'll attend or not. Number 6 is, what about the mothers, the imahos? Will they come as well? Are there any women in this group? And finally, number 7 is, hopefully we'll try to discuss some practical limud that we can take away from this, which is something tangible we can all relate to, even if we're the non-Kabbalists. So the 7 questions corresponding to the 7 Ushpizin that we're about to discuss. So first, source number 2, we have the pasuk. The pasuk in Parshas Emor, Basukos Teishvu Shivas Yam, we should dwell in the sukkahs for 7 days. The end of the pasuk, Kol Ezrach Bi Yisrael, anyone who's what loosely translated as a member, anyone who's part of Klal Yisrael, Yeshvu Basukos, should sit in the sukkahs. So this pasuk is used numerous times throughout Masechta Sukkah to teach us many halachos of how to build a sukkah, how to dwell in the sukkah. But there's a basic question here in the structure of the pasuk, which, as far as I know, the Gemara does not discuss head on. If we break the pasuk into 2 parts, we'll have an interesting problem. It says, Basukos Teishvu Shivas Yam. The pasuk is talking to us directly. You shall sit in the sukkah for 7 days. So it's talking to us head to head on. The next part of the pasuk seemingly is third person. Kol Ezrach Bi Yisrael Yeshu Asukos. Whoever is a member, whoever is a resident of Klal Yisrael, will sit in the sukkah. So that seems to be a little removed from us. The first part of the pasuk is talking directly towards us, like a tzivui. Thou shalt sit in the sukkah. Basukos Teishvu Shivas Yam. The second part of the pasuk is seemingly third person. Everybody, Kol Ezrach Bi Yisrael, like those group of Jewish people, they should sit in the sukkah. So is it a tzivui to us, or is it talking a little bit removed from us and more of a third person type of talking? So the Zohar, which is source number 3, is very bothered by this question. Now, for simplicity's sake, I copied from the contemporary Svarim a Hebrew running free translation of the Zohar in Hebrew. The Zohar is written, as we know, in Aramaic. It's much more difficult to read. So the gist of the Zohar here is brought down in Lashon HaKodesh. It's easier to read, but the Zohar, it's not copied on this part of the page exactly. I'll quote it to you. It's asked this question. He says, "V'amar Rabbi Abbas." I'm quoting to you. It's not in the Hebrew text, and only in Aramaic text. Ksiv Basukos Teishvu Shivas Yam. It says Basukos Teishvu Shivas Yam. Ubasar. The next part of the verse, like we said, is Yeshvu Basukos. Bikadmisu Teishvu Ulubasar Yeshvu. First it says Teishvu, then Yeshvu. So, like we're saying, it's 2 different tenses. So the Zohar answers Ella Kadma'o Lushpiza. First come the special guests. Tinyana the Bnei Alma. The second part of the verse is talking to us in this world. So according to the Zohar, the first part of the pasuk is Basukos Teishvu Shivas Yamim, is the Ushpizin. They're always in the sukkah for 7 days. And the second part of the verse of Kol Ezrach Bi Yisrael Yeshu Asukos, we should make sure to get into a sukkah, us Klal Yisrael, that's talking to us here in this world. So now the Zohar, now we can have what's translated here on the page. The Zohar goes on, I'll just paraphrase a lot of the parts of the Zohar here, is that Zohar tells us that in the sukkah, the Shechina is Poras Kinafav Aleha. The Shechina, HaKadosh Baruch Hu's presence is riding over us. And the Zohar says, V'Avraham, where it's underlined, V'chamisha tzadikim, Avram accompanied by 5 tzadikim, unnamed tzadikim, the David HaMelech, and David HaMelech, Samim Mishkanam Imo, placed their dwelling with us. It continues, a person has to be happy every single day of Sukkot. These chashuv guests that are coming to spend Sukkot with us. So besides the fact we know Sukkot is always referred to as Zman Simchas Seinu, numerous pshatim, why that is. But here the Zohar is telling us another reason for Zman Simchas Seinu is because of special guests that are coming to join us in the Sukkah. The Zohar continues and says, Rav Hamnuna Sava, the elder Rav Hamnuna, he would enter the Sukkah, he was very happy. He would stand at the entrance to the sukkah and invite in the guests. He would stand up. He would make the bracha leisha basukkah, etc. Later on, it continues, where the next part where it's underlined says, "V'al kol zeh." With all this, don't forget, says the Zohar, tzarich l'samech es ha'ani. We also have to make sure we're gladdening the ani, the poor people on Sukkot. Ma'u atam. Why specifically now? We always have to give tzedakah. Why specifically now? Says the Zohar, Mishum shechelkam shel elu ha'archim shehizmin l'sudasai shayach la'aniyim. Because we're inviting Avram and the tzaddikim and David HaMelech. But as we know, they're spiritual beings. They're not going to eat. So what do we do with the food that we prepared for them? Says the Zohar, we have to make sure that's being distributed properly to people who need it. Shayach la'aniyim. And the Zohar continues in very harsh terms about those people who just sit in the sukkah and fill their own belly. And don't forget about the Jews that are in need. Read it inside yourself. It's very harsh about how the Oshpiza will abandon the sukkah. They will pack up their bags and leave. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is angry at us, etc. There's very harsh terms and klolos before a person who's just interested in his own meal and doesn't care about sharing his resources, his assets with others. So that's the basic summary of a long Zohar. It's a fascinating read inside. I might have to read it inside later. But basically, from this Zohar, this is the earliest source that I was able to track down, and from what I know of Ushpiz. And again, it's not in the Gemara, it's not in Shulchan Aruch or the primary Rishonim who we draw most halacha from. It's the Zohar who's telling us this idea based on the pasuk of Asukos Teshuvah Shivas Yom that we see. There's 2 tenses in the verse here that we're talking to us physically here in this world, and as well we're talking to Ushpizin. Now,
Shivas Yomim is equated with personality.
Correct. Right. Okay, we'll get to that in one more second. Hold on. Right. So, but again, one point I want to point out again, like we mentioned before, is that the Zohar is very ambiguous who's coming. It's Avraham, his 5 tzaddikim who accompany him, and David HaMelech. So that only equals 6 in my mathematical equation. I'm sorry, 7 altogether. Right? It's Avraham plus 5 is 6, and David is 7. Fine. So we got to 7, but the 5 afterwards are not clear in this Zohar. I did not copy all the numerous sources that discuss how do we get to the common 7 that we have, but just to sum it up is that there are numerous other citations that I saw from the Zohar which discuss what we call the Shiva Haroim, the 7 shepherds of Klal Yisrael, and from there most of the Kabbalistic Svarim, Sifrei Kabbalah, extract that when we talk about Avram and the 5 tzaddikim and David, we're referring to this group called the Shiva Haroyim. Now, commonly, the way we enumerate them is Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Moshe, Aaron, Yosef, and David. I did that order specifically, and I'll tell you why in a moment. So again, Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, the 3 Avos, Moshe and Aaron, Yosef, from the Shvatim, and David HaMelech. There are those, though, I don't know if this is a custom anywhere, but in some, I saw brought down in some Svarim, who switch Yosef, and instead of Yosef they have David and Shlomo, and some switch Yosef for Pinchas, but I don't think that's at least common practice anywhere. But that's the 7 shepherds again that the Zohar discusses other places are Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Moshe, Aaron, Yosef, and David. Now, as we know, we'll discuss more a little shortly. There's 2 common customs of Klal Yisrael how we order the Ushpizin. Either way, I just said it, which is an interesting order. It's almost chronological, except for that we put Yosef after Moshe and Aaron before David. There are those who do Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Yosef, Moshe, Aaron, and David, and we'll get to why hopefully a little bit later. But those are either way, the names are the same. The question is exactly the order. We'll get to a little later. The next source, which is a Sefer Yisod B'Shorosh Avoda, number 4, which is written by Alexander Ziskin, who lived in the late 1700s. It's a fascinating sefer. It's I guess classified as a Musar / Kabbalah sefer, where he didn't belong to a specific group of Hasidim or Misnagdim, but both the Misnagdish world and the Hasidic world both grabbed onto the Sefer as a Sefer of Aliyah, discusses much of a way of intense avodah to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, a lot of Dveikus and a lot of different minhagim Klal Yisrael has embraced over the years are discussed at length in Soid V'Sharash Avodah. Again, he wasn't a specific Hasidic sect or from the Misnagdish sect, although he lived at the height of the original Hasidic Misnagdic Machlokes. But he quotes the Zohar, and after I just copied where after he quotes the Zohar, where it's underlined, he says, of course, like we're saying, we have to be rejoicing on Sukkot with the Aniyim, and they will take the Chelek, like we spoke out from the Zohar, and he ends off where the end of the underline is in the first paragraph, U'berchasam Yivarach Gover Yireh Hashem Shiva Brachas. And with doing this, with giving the portion to the Aniyim, it'll be bestowed upon us 7 blessings. Doesn't say which 7 blessings they are, but whatever they are, I'm sure they'll be good. Well, the hepech chas v'shalom, then he goes on to discuss the flip side of that chas v'shalom, if a person does not share his resources with the aniyim. And then he continues in the next paragraph, he says, he's medayik in the Zohar, like we read before, that we must call out to them b'peh, we have to invite them. He just says, ki mevur, in the second line of the second paragraph, he says, ki mevur b'sfarim, v'lashon ha'maymer ha'zohar ha'kodesh hanal. Like it says in all the Sfarim, based on the Zohar, that's what you have to do. Shema adam lo yazvin hani ushpizin kadishim. If a person will not enumerate and speak out to invite the ushpizin, even if he's the most righteous of people, they will not enter the sukkah. I guess just to put into practical terms, like any good guest, you hope they don't come if they're unannounced, right, or uninvited. So we want the guests to come. We want to have to treat them respectfully, like we would treat any guest that we would have in our home. We call them and tell them, please come in. It's only the most respectful way to do it. So we have to invite each one, and we invite them in. The standard text is in many machzayim, and what we say, there's a longer text, there's a shorter text, but the basic idea is we should invite into ushpizin. Okay, the next source though tells us, which might be well known to all of us, but it's seemingly it was spoken out here first, the Sefer Reishis Chachma, which was written by Rabbi Yodiv Vadish, who he lived in Tzfas slightly after the times of the Arizal. I think he still saw the Arizal. He was a Talmud of Ramosha Cordovero, the author of the Tomer Devora. He was a contemporary with Rav Shlomo Alkabetz, the author of L'Chadodi, from the great Mekubalim of Tzfas. And his Sefer Reishis Chachma, he brings that from his Rebbe, the Ramak. It says, V'diktek Mori, where it's underlined, the Masha Amar, that which the Zohar said, B'kol Yoma V'Yoma. Each and every day we have to be happy. Didn't just say specifically for 7 days be glad. Laharos teaches us there's a particular simcha each day. Why? He says each and every day there's a head, a leader of the group. We said before, Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, etc. So on the first day we're going to line up Avram with the first day, Yitzchak with the second day. They're leading the pack. Everyone is following their lead. And we'll discuss shortly what each one represents. But here, this Reishis Chachma is telling us from the Radak that it's not just the 7 ushpizin come every day in the same uniform line. Every day there's a new way that they line up, so to speak, and the leader of the day is the one who corresponds with those 7, each one of the 7 days of Sukkot, etc. So basically, what we've just spoken out till now, let me just get the summary down. A lot of basic information. Many of us are familiar with it already, but just let's clarify it. We have the Zohar as this earliest source for this minhag of Klal Yisrael do the ushpizin. The Zohar is not 100% clear who the ushpizin are. Based on other sources, it seems to put it together that's a Shiva Harayim, the 7 shepherds who have led Klal Yisrael in various stages of our history, which we enumerated before. The Shiur V'Sharash Avodah telling us that the idea, like the Zohar himself also says, to make sure we're giving a portion of food to the aniyim, b'makayim, serving the ushpizin, and we have to make sure to invite them b'peh, say the nusach of inviting the ushpizin. And lastly, the Reishis Chachma told us the idea of knowing that each day there's a specific leader of the ushpizin. Yeah.
I'm not sure how you read it. says Ari Zayin Yom Zayin Yom. Then it says
That's what I thought too. I was wondering the same question.
So you think that means only one comes?
I don't know what it.
Okay.
It doesn't. It makes sense what you're saying because you have both lines.
Right.
It doesn't make
Right.
sense.
Because I think from at least the way as the progression goes on through the next svarim, you'll see that everyone understands like that. But you're right. From the actual word in here, it could be a little ambiguous. Sounds maybe only one is coming every day. That's what you're saying? Okay. Moving along, the next source. So far we've spoken about the males, the Shiva Harayim. So the Nitte Gavriel, which is a contemporary author, Rav Gavriel Zinner in Borough Park, a Rav in Borough Park, he quotes here from the Belzer Rebbe. And this was new to me this year. This is not from a feminist sefer. This is quite a Hasidic source. And the Belzer Rebbe says as follows: Yodua de kisha'avos ha'olam boyim l'sukkah. When the Heilige Avos come to our sukkah, as memela, of course, who accompanies the Avos ha'imois gamkein. The mothers come as well. He says it's hinted to in the pasuk. V'nir mazeh b'pasuk. The pasuk we start off with before Kol Ezrach b'Yisrael yeshu b'sukos. V'tevas Ezrach. If you spell out the word Ezrach, Aleph, like he says, Aleph, Lamed, Fei, Zion, Yud, Nun, etc. You spell out the whole word and then do the gematria. He says it's the same exact gematria of the Imois, Sarah, Rivko, Rachel, Valeah. Okay? So I'm trusting him. I didn't work it out last night when I was putting this together. I'm trusting the Belzer Rebbe for this cheshbon. But he says, of course, that means that the Imois and the Avos come and are ma'oiros for the Chag HaSukkos. It's a nice idea. The only question I have on this was that, so what happens to, we have Moshe, Aaron, Yosef, and David. I don't know what happened to their Heilige. I know it's true their wives were not necessarily known as imos per se or any particular leadership roles of Klal Yisrael like the imos were granted, but at the same time it would seem like there should be some remes to them as well. But the Belzer Rebbe is saying at least that the imos are coming, yeah?
Women, when the Torah was given, were not obligated to the sukkah, so they're
okay, but the imos are probably the Mount Torah, maybe. Well, Yosef, all right, well, Yosef's wife was before Mount Torah. Okay, I'm not sure. Okay, it's something to think about. And then, what? Okay, what's enough? I'm not sure. Maybe at the end we'll try to learn something from it. Good shot. And then one more thing that the Gabriel brings down, he says, Eliyahu Hanavi, who we know always comes on Pesach, and he's by every bris, we know, etc. Eliyahu Hanavi is also marumas in the Ushpiz, although we don't personally invite him, but he says it's marumas in the pasuk Basukos Teishvu Shivas Yamim, the Rashi Tevis of those words. You mix them around, spell out Tishbi, and we know Eliyahu Navi came from the town of Tishbi. Eliyahu Navi, Eliyahu Tishbi. So again, we have a nice remez for Eliyahu Navi coming as well. Same question: what's the nafkamina? We'll get to maybe shortly at the end. We can put it together. Basukos Teishvu Shivas Yam. You mix around the Rashi Tevis of that word, you mix it around, then you get Tishbi. Now, I didn't bring this down, but I did see brought down in the Chidah a lot of contemporary Svarim quote this, and I've heard, although I've not seen it yet, is that in the New York Judaica stores, it's becoming popular now. The Chidah writes, and when we invite the Ushpizin, you can't just invite a guest in and expect them to stand. Same way by a bris, we have a chair that's a miyuchat for Eliyahu Hanavi. You go to many shuls that have a beautiful decorated chair. It says Navi on it. The Chidah brings down we should have a chair designated for the Ushpizin as well. And someone I've heard, I haven't seen it, that in some Judaica stores in New York they're selling special like slip covers. You can put on top of a chair and have a decoration like we have all these beautiful sukkah decorations. It'll say, it says Ushpizin on it, and it's a nice idea. If you have room in a sukkah, it's great. Many of our sukkahs are already crowded enough. It's a nice idea, but it's definitely not the normative practice.
Do you need one or seven?
I don't know. I'm not sure. Yeah.
Substitute Shlomo for Yosef.
Right.
If the wives come, how big that sukkah?
I don't know. Right. Yeah, it's a good question. Okay, so now let's stop for a minute and discuss, like we mentioned briefly before, there are two common customs in Klal Yisrael how to have the order. The same names, basically, everybody has, a Shiva Ushpizin, but the two basic orders. Let's go through it again. So the more what's called the Hasidic custom is Abraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Moshe, Aaron, Yosef, and David. The custom which is more accepted by Ashkenazic world is Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Yosef, Moshe, Aaron, and David. Now, there are those that say that the reason why the Ashkenazic custom is more correct is because if you go in chronological order, that's the most correct way. Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Yosef, Moshe, Aaron, Yosef, and David. There's one slight issue with that, is that Aaron is 3 years older than Moshe. Okay, so you could, get by that by saying the same generation, and Moshe was the leader of Klal Yisrael, but, it's a slight issue. So what's pshat in the more Hasidic custom of having it Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Moshe, Aaron, Yosef, and David? So most of the Sfarim speak out that here the Shiva Ushpizim will line up with the Shiva Sfiros. As we know that there's this concept of the various manifestations of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's Hanhaga with us is brought down through the various Sfiros. I can't explain it more than I just said, but that's what the Sfarim say. And the Shiva Sfiros are Chesed, Gevura, Tiferes, Netzach, Hoid, Yisoid, and Malchus. And those 7 Sfiros, which many of us are familiar with by Sfiras HaOmer, will line up with the order of the more Hasidic custom had to Ushpizin. Avraham, of course, as you all know, will equal Chesed, that's number 1. Yitzchak equals Gevura, which is number 2. Yaakov equals Tiferes, which is Emes, number 3. Moshe, which is Torah, is number 4, is Netzach. Aaron is Hod, the glory, the splendor of the Kohen Gadol. 6 is Yosef, which is Hod, which is Kedusha, and 7 is David HaMelech, which is Malchus. So that's a basic idea of how to line it up, and at the end, hopefully, we'll just say what we can learn from that, like Hillel raised the question before. But that's the basic breakdown. So in source number 7, in Chuvas L'Hairas Nasa, which is of Nasa Gestetner, he was asked, we seemingly have a stira in various Kabbalistic Sfarim, and even in many of the Hasidic Sfarim, although, like I said, the common Hasidic custom is to have Yosef as number 6, but not all Hasidim do that. And he was asked what the appropriate minhag. So he brings from the Chassam Sofer, and Chassam Sofer brings down like what we call the common Hasidic minhag to have Yosef as number 6. He says, if you look in certain places in the Zohar, when it talks about the karbanos of Sukkot, and the 4th day of Sukkot is corresponding to Yosef. So that would seem like the Ashkenazic, more Litvish custom is more correct, having Yosef as number 4 instead of number 6. So he quotes, towards the end of the paragraph there, he quotes, it's about 4 or 5 lines from the bottom. We can explain this based on a Gemara. There's a Gemara in Baba Basra in the Parak Yesh Noichlin where it discusses the order of the daughters of Tzalafcha. The Torah seemingly has 2 different orders, how it lists the daughters of Tzalafcha when they came and complained to Moshe they don't have a portion in the land of Israel. So the Torah, the Gemara there says, B'yeshiva halach achar chachma, b'mesiba halach achar zekena. So literally what it means is, b'yeshiva, when it comes to matters, when you're listing them in order of comes to things of sitting, meaning things of kedusha, learning, davening, or things like that, we list them in chachma and wisdom. B'mesiba, when it comes to a party setting, a wedding or some other festive setting, we go after zikna, we go after age order. So he's taking out from there a little bit of a Hasidic twist in the same thing. B'yeshiva halach achar chachma. He says, L'chein b'yeshiva sukkah, when we're sitting in the sukkah, Moshe Kadam. We're going after Chachma. Moshe represents Torah. Therefore, he comes before Yosef HaTzadik. Uve Mesibas Karbanos, when we bring their Karbanos, which is a more of a festive setting, in the Beis HaMikdash, bringing their Karbanos to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, then Yosef Kadam. But Lamaisa, bottom line, it says, no matter what, the last couple words of Nasan Gestener ends off, and others say this as well, Nimsa, the Elov Diva, the Kivchayim, it's hard, he says, to prove one way is more correct over the other way. Each one has proper sources in various Svarim HaKadoshim, and therefore he says, whichever way you're going to do it is correct. That's what he says. But now I'm going to share with you a fascinating vart. This mamish blew my socks off. First time I heard it was just a couple days ago from the Munkach Rebbe. The Minchas Elazar, after the Bnei Yisachar was the Minchas Elazar, and he has a sefer Shai Yisachar. And he's going to prove why the Hasidic way is more correct. The Ga'inus here is unbelievable. If you're not going to be Hasidic after this, I'm not sure what's going to convince you. Okay, here we go. He brings this vart from the Dombrova Rebbe. I don't know much about the Dombrova, except there's a small shtibel somewhere still in New York called Dombrova Shtibel. I'm not sure how much Hasidus is left to it, unfortunately, but I guess in Hungary, before the war, there was some type of kehillah there. And he brings from what he heard from Mordechai David of Dombrova as follows. The pasuk we just had in last week's Parsha, Parshas Hazinu, just read yesterday, says, Moshe Rabbeinu was told, Umus Bahar, you will die in the mountain, Ve'asef el amecha, and you'll be gathered into the nation. Kasher meis Aaron achicha, just like Aaron your brother died. Bahar hahar, on that mountain. Ve'yasaf Am was gathered into his nation. And we know Rashi there brings down the Chazal. We're familiar that Moshe Rabbeinu was nisaveh. Moshe Rabbeinu wanted to die. He saw the way Aaron HaKohen, his brother, died in Mises Nashika, an unbelievable experience of death. He wanted to have the same way of dying. That's Pash Pshat. Zak the Dumber of a Rebbe, Mukach is bringing. What does it mean? He was this Ave Ba'isa Misa. He says, Nam Romos. I'll give you the following hint, where it's underlined, a couple lines down. It says, Kihine Lepella. It's a wonderment. Mechuvin. It comes out. Shebiyoim Shachal Boy Rosh Chodesh Av. The day of the week that Rosh Chodesh Av falls out on, which is Yom Misas Aaron. The Torah tells us Aaron HaKohen died on Rosh Chodesh Av, which this past year, if you have the cheshbon, if you remember, it was on a Thursday. That day of the week, B'chol Shana, every single year, La'achrav, meaning the sukkah that follows that, Yom Oshpizin delay comes out Aaron HaKohen's Oshpizin on Thursday. So this year, if you follow the cheshbon, you'll have Sukkot starts on Monday, Sunday night Monday. So Monday is Avraham, then Yitzchak, Yaakov, Moshe, Aaron. Aaron's going to be on Friday. Friday. Let's start again. Rosh Chodesh, right. If you have, I said Thursday before, right? I meant Friday. If you have Aaron HaKohen as fifth Ushpiza, which is Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Moshe, Aaron, it's going to come out Aaron Ushpizin. Aaron HaKohen's Ushpizin is going to be on Friday. Rosh Chodesh Av this past year was on Friday, right? Because Tisha B'Av was on Shabbos, so Rosh Chodesh Av was a week and a day before, which is on Friday. Okay, not bad so far. So Moshe Rabbeinu asked HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Al Kain, says the Rebbe over here, Nis'ave Gam Moshe. Moshe Rabbeinu wanted that as well. V'chaman, he desired L'Aisa Misa. Why do you want that same idea? Shesimin Toivu, it's a good omen. Sheyom Misasai, the day of the week of that he died, who chal b'yom ad Ushpizin, should fall out on the same day of the week of his Ushpizin. B'chag ha'asif, on the Yontif of Sukkot, which is also called Chag ha'asif. This word here is important. Zman Simchaseinu. So if Evtiach la HaKadosh Baruch Hu promised him, Shegam Yom Misasai Zayin Adar, as we all know, Moshe Rabbeinu was niftar on Zayin Adar. Yeh b'Oisa Yom b'Shavua Shachal b'Yosh Ushpizin delay b'Chag HaSukkos. It'll be also the same day that of the week that his Ushpizin falls out. So Moshe Rabbeinu's Yartzeit this past year, Zayin Adar, was on a Thursday. This year, if you go into Chassidish custom of doing the Ushpizin, this fourth day of Ushpizin, which is Moshe Rabbeinu, is going to be Thursday. The Zeo Remez, the pasuk in this past week's parasha Zinu, which says Umus Bahar, Moshe Rabbeinu, you're going to die in the mountain. But Isayim, today, that day when HaKadosh Baruch Hu was telling Moshe, you're going to die, means you're going to die today in the mountain. The next part of the pasuk, Ve'asef El Amecha, Hey Asif, Shabala Amcha, you'll come back to your nation, Chag HaAsif, on the Yontif of Asif, which is Sukkis, B'yom ad Ushpizin delay, just like Aaron HaKohen does. Pella. I don't know how you figure this out, but it works. I checked it out, right? So this past year, Zayin Adar was Thursday. This year, Moshe Rabbeinu is going to be Thursday. Moshe Rabbeinu's Ushpizin is Thursday. Aaron HaKohen is Friday. Aaron HaKohen's Yartzeit was a Friday of the week. He says, a little later, he says, Umizeh ha-remez v'samach l'minhag. This is an amazing remez and a smach to our minhag that Moshe is the fourth day of Ushpizin, Aaron is the fifth day, Yosef is the sixth day, etc. Then he now says the Shai Yisach, and now says Munkat Rebbe, I'll add even another kinech. Here we go. According to everybody, so this is not as amazing no matter which way you go, David HaMelech is the seventh day. David HaMelech's Yartzeit is first day of Shavuos, Vav Sivan. If you figure it out, last year the first day of Shavuos, we know Shavuos started with a 3-day Yontif. Erev Shavuos was Shabbos. First day of Shavuos was Sunday this past year. David HaMelech's Yartzeit was Sunday. David HaMelech's Ushpizin, Hoshana Rabbah this year, Hoshana Rabbah is Sunday. What a coincidence, it all works out. Now, right? It's pretty amazing. At the end, he goes through, he proves it from Sukkim and Tehillim that David HaMelech wants this idea at well. Here comes the clincher. He says, last couple lines, he says, all the way at the end of the left, on the left column, he says, V'gam tira lepela, it's also amazing, he says, Ki b'yom lag ba'omer. The day of lag ba'omer as well. We know lag ba'omer is Rav Shimon Bar Yochai's Yartzeit. The Zohar tells us Rav Shimon Bar Yochai was Shoresh Nishmasai. The root of his neshama was Moshe Rabbeinu. Just like Moshe Rabbeinu was the leader of Klal Yisrael, Rav Shimon Bar Yochai was the leader of Klal Yisrael. Like we said, Moshe Rabbeinu was a Thursday this past year. Like Ba'omer this past year, coincidentally, also happened to be a Thursday. That also coincidentally was the same day of Moshe Rabbeinu's Yahrzeit. Also coincidentally the same day of Moshe Rabbeinu's Ushpizin. Okay, a lot of coincidences. If you believe in coincidences, then you'll just walk away with it. If you want to hear an amazing part, I think that was an amazing idea. How a remez for this idea of having Ushpizin specifically in this order, and it lines up the days of the week. Now you'll ask me, okay, what's the big deal? I can't answer that question exactly. Why that's chashuv, but the fact that it works out is chashuv enough to understand there's some hidden message there that there's something symbolic there, and maybe over Yontif we could think about it, an idea of why specifically that day of the week. Okay, moving out of the Hasidic sources a little bit. The next source, number 9, is from a Sefer D'liyos Yecheskel, which is written, compiled from the writings of Rabbi Yecheskel Sarna, who was a Litvish Rosh Yeshiva of Chevron Yeshiva in Eretz Yisrael. He's most famous in Yeshiva world for his Sefer Lamdus, the Divrei Yecheskel. But here, in his drushes on Chumash and on Mayadim, he gets into the Ushpizin as well, and he's bothered by the basic question that we asked, one of the questions we asked in the beginning, what's so special about Sukkot? Why Sukkot over any other Yom Tiv? So he says, in number 9 over here, the idea of Ushpizin, he quotes from a Goin. It's about halfway down, he says, well, first he quotes the Rambam. Sorry, before he gets to the Goin, he says, we know the whole idea of Tshuva, we had Elul, we had Rosh Hashanah, Aseret Simei Tshuva, we had Yom Kippur. The whole idea of Tshuva, as the Rambam tells us, is the Tshuva is Mekareves Arachaykim. It brings back together those people who are distant from keeping Torah mitzvahs. Like the Rambam says, Emesh, yesterday this person was Sonui Lifnei Amokim, he was hated, despised by HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he was Meshuketz and Meruchak, but now he did Tshuva, he's Oyev, and Nechmad, Karav, Yedid. So he brings out from the Goin, he says, we're going to say, Be'ez Hashem, the next week, or in Hallel, the first kapitel, we say that we end off, Mikimi Me'afar Dol. HaKadosh Baruch Hu lifts us up lifts the impoverished up from the ashes, from the dirt. That's us who are dalmi mitzvahs. May ashbay sermiv evyon, lifts us up from the garbage heaps. That's the Baal Tshuva, when we've reached a level of Tshuva after Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, Be'ez Hashem. Then the pasuk continues, Lahayishivi im nedivim ama. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to put us back with the exalted ones, those people who are leaders of the nation. Hainu ha'avos hakadoshim. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to put us back together with our heilige avos. Zok tegayin v'hainu shezoichim Yisrael. That's the madrega we're reaching now. Achrei ha'mechila v'slicha, after we've had a proper forgiveness from HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yom Kippurim. L'sheves im ha'avos, we get to sit with the avos. Hakadoshim chag esukos v'zel b'chinas u'shpizis. Here comes the groin, right? Our Litvish source now seems like the groin was into Ushpizin as well. That the idea of the Ushpizin specifically after Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, specifically doing on Sukkot, is the idea because we reach a level of kapara, of slicha mechila, which as great as we work on before Pesach of getting rid of the chametz, and of course the chametz is Arsha Be'isa, the Eitzahara, Avad is the tshuva process to Pesach as well, but it can't compete with the Itzumi Shal Yom of Yom Kippur. In Yom Kippur, we all know we're starting a fresh new slate. So that's the pasuk in Tehillim. He's saying, "Ashbais Somer Evyon LaHishivi and Medivin." The Ashbais, I saw in this fast time, I didn't quote it, but he said the same idea, but made a little more Hasidish. Ashbais also gets into the same word as Ushpizin, gets a little related over there. The same idea that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is lifting us up from the lowest of levels and bringing us closer to the Heilige Avos on Sukkot. And a similar idea on the next page in source 10, the Nittei Gavriel says the same idea. He says a little more of a mashal. He says nearly the second line down. He says Al Derech HaPashut. Why are we having Ushpizin specifically on Sukkot? Because someone who wants to invite a king to his house, of course, a person has to prepare his house. We have to roll out the red carpet, literally and figuratively, to prepare for the king. We have to prepare our courtyard to be the kavod, the oreach hagadol. All the more so if we want the king to eat by us. So of course that can only be accomplished after an appropriate time of tshuva, slicha, and kapara, like Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. And he says that's what he just goes on and continue in his lashon over there. That's the idea why specifically on Sukkot. So it's not just arbitrary that the 7 days of Sukkot we have 7 Ushpizin, because there are other times we can line up 7 Ushpizin. Specifically now because of the level of atonement that Be'ez Hashem we have accomplished.
The Gon only really referenced the Avos, not Moshe, right?
Okay,
Here he's
fine. Okay, but I think that idea it can carry through here. You're right. The word Avos does usually specifically refer to the three Avos, but I think in this context he's talking about the Ushpizin. I don't think at least I didn't see anywhere that the Goyin is. Goyin actually is another Goyin I didn't quote here in a sefer called Yahel Or, which is the collection of the Goyin's Hagoyis on the Zohar. And I looked at it because I saw it quoted, and I couldn't really understand what he's talking about. But there he does discuss the proper order of the Shiva Ushpizin, and he gets involved in steers and Zohars, and it was beyond my scope of understanding. But I just want to bring up this moment that he was into the Shpizin all 7 days. So the word Avos here, we'll just use it as Lav Dafka. That's all. To go back to the idea of 7 right. Now, many of us are familiar, and I saw a source for this year of a common custom is that if anyone in the family shares a name with any of the Ushpizin, we make a big deal out of it. Tonight's Yosef's Ushpizin, Avram, your name's Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov. So it could be just a cute idea. It's nice to make the person feel good, which is a nice mitzvah in itself. But I saw brought down, Nitzik Gabriel brings down from Rabbi Leibele Eger, who was the grandson of Rabbi Kiva Eger, who became Hasidish, famous grandson of Rabbi Kiva Eger, who brings down from the various tzaddikim that the minhag is that the people whose name are like the name of that Ushpizin, we give them a specific shaykhis to the kedusha of that day, which we'll speak about a little more in a moment. But I remember as a child, my father used to take me many times to the Munkach's Sukkah on Chol Hamoed, and the current Munkach Rebbe's name is Moshe. And you would go to the Munkach Rebbe on the night of Moshe's Ushpizin, and it's every night of the Ushpizin have a beautiful Sukkah space. The Shreva and Munkach is a beautiful, nice, if you can go during Chol Hamoed, there's nice live music, it's beautiful ideas, a beautiful tish. But on Moshe, they go all out. Many other Rebbes come, and they spend time with him, and it's like the highlight of the week in Munkach is Moshe's speech, because that's the Rebbe's name. I just thought, as a child, it was a nice, cute thing. So my name is Yitzchak, so I'll have an all-night party on the second night of Ushpizin. But the idea of Leibele Eger is saying here that if you can get shaykhs to the tzaddik on that day, somehow it is a higher madrega. But the next vart is even a little better, because many of us don't have our names. We have beautiful, nice Yiddish names, but they don't specifically line up with any of the Shiva Ushpizins. Does that mean we lose out? So of course the answer is no. And he brings here from the Vision Rebbe and others that the Vision Rebbe once turned to someone whose name was Shalom, and he told him during the Ushpizin of Moshe, your name is Shalom. You're also rumors in tonight because Li Moshe is Gematria Shalom. Okay, so if you're into Gematrias, that's good. And he wanted, because the point is we want to try what we can, as we'll see more in a moment why, to be makusher to the specific Ushpizin of that day. He turned to someone, his name was Shlomo, and he says, your name is Shlomo, you're also rumors because Li Moshe is the same letters as Shlomo. So you have another way of getting someone into the Ushpizin. On the speech of Aaron HaKoyin, he turned to the guy Shalom again. He said, Shalom, tonight's your Ushpizin again, because Aaron HaKoyin was Oyev Shalom V'Raitiv Shalom. So we find whatever we can to be room as a person, whether it's in his name or in his midos, to shaykhs of the Ushpizin. So why is that? Why are we so into, so to speak, being Meramis? What are we trying to latch onto? So I want to share one vart which I saw in the Sefer Tiv HaMoyadim. I didn't copy it here. From Gamliel Rabinovich Shlita of Meir Shar, a Makubal, Rosh Shiva of Shar Shemayim. Many people go to him for various eitzes, and he said one idea which I thought, he has a lot of ideas about the Ushpizin. One idea which I thought was very nice, digestible idea, was that the Shiva Harayim, the 7 leaders, the 7 shepherds who are singling out for the Ushpizin, are all spoken about numerous times throughout their life, the various nisyonis they faced. Avram, we know, the 10 nisyonis. Yitzchak, we know, we had nisyon with Akedah, he had Esav, and dealing with him. Yaakov, we know, had the various sons with Mechiras Yosef, and he had going down to Mitzrayim, and various nisyonis he had. Moshe Rabbeinu growing up in Beis Tarai, running away, the challenges that Moshe Rabbeinu faced. Aaron HaKoyin, the fact that his 2 children died in his lifetime. Vayidoim Aaron, we know, Yosef had the challenge of the Eishes Potiphera, and the other challenges Yosef had being in Mitzrayim. David HaMelech, we know, with Avshalom and various other challenges they had. What's the side is we have specifically these Shiva Harayim to lead us, to give us this spiritual energy to realize that our leaders are those who are constantly faced with this journess. And to each and every one of us in our own personal lives, we're going to have various challenges in this journess, and often we can somehow relate them to the Maisa of a similar bond, and we can relate them to what our earlier generations, our leaders went through, and we can try to draw from them. We know that they were able to overcome with Siyata Shmaya, and we're looking to latch on to them whatever way we can, even in the minutest way. It's our same name. so I have some shaykhs at tzaddik. It's the same gematria. I have some shaykhs at tzaddik. We need to latch on to our earliest v'zoicher, right? V'zoicher chas the avos, right? We try to remember those chasadim that HaKadosh Baruch Hu did with the avos, they did to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, in order that we could get a schus from them, in order to give us a schus as well to continue our. Like we said, we're starting now after Yom Kippur, so we know Rishon Lakat Mechem Yom Rishon, like the Rav spoke out by Shal Shus yesterday. Sukkot is called in Chazal Rishon Lecheshbon Avonos. Now we're starting the rest of we're going into the winter. We're soon going to be leaving the Yarach the month of Tishrei, and we're going to be faced back with our regular life challenges. We need help. We need to latch on to the Shiva Harayim in order to have the capabilities in Ruchnius and in Gashmis to make it through the long year. So we're looking to latch on to something, whatever it could, to gain from our Heilig Avos. The last word I wanted to share with you, I thought was which is a fascinating idea, was from of Dessler. Again, a non-Hasidic source, very into the Ushpizin of Dessler. Goes through, he seems to have had the Seder of Ushpizin, like we said before, which is the more Hasidic custom of having Yosef as 6, corresponding with the Shiva, the 7 Sfiros, and he lines up that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, like we said, the way he manifests his behavior towards us is through the Shiva Sfiros. So if you start from, there's 2 ways to start, from on top, or here we're on the bottom. So, if you're on top of that, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is starting one way, but we got to start the other way. So the way he lines it up, the way we're starting here on the earth, we're trying to continue to build ourselves up, get closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So he says it lines up very nicely. Chesed, sphere number 1 is Avraham Avinu, which is Chesed, which is Ahava, broadening our love of HaKadosh Baruch Hu and doing love with others. Pachad is number 2, which is Yitzchak, right, which is Gevura, that we can't, unbridled love is never going to be a good relationship. There has to be a certain level of Gevura with HaKadosh Baruch Hu as well. 3 is Tiferes, which is Emes, the proper fusion of knowing how to fuse the Yira and the Hava. Dalit is the level of Netzach of Moshe Rabbeinu, which is Torah, the Shema. After we there are Cheretz Kam the Torah, so after we have a certain level of appreciation of serving Hashem, we have to make sure we're delving into Torah properly. Then we have 5, which is Aaron HaKoyin, which is Hoid, which is the splendor of spreading Torah, Oyev Shalom, V'roid Shalom, like we said before. Aaron HaKoyin's Midah. 6 is the side of Kedusha, which is Yosef, and which is 6 Ushpizin, which is Yisoid, and the 7th, which is Malchus, which is getting us closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, is David HaMelech. Now there's many messages I guess you can take out from here. Some of them are beyond my scope of full understanding, but the idea of it's a progression. We're working through days of Sukkot each day that the Chassidish Farm bring down as well. There's an idea of each one of the days of Sukkot to specifically say a vart in the Sukkah, somehow tying it into the midah of that avos, or that one of the 7 Ushpizin. So Avram is Chesed, etc. Going through to try to be Mekusher Zayin, and that's why we can grow in a way of Aliyah throughout the days of Sukkot, each day getting a higher and higher level. So to end off, I think to add on a drop, we know the next day after Ishan Rabbah, Shmini Atzeres. So there's no specific Ushpizin. We in Chutz La'aretz sit in the Sukkah one more day. We know Shmini Atzeres, the whole idea is the Gemara tells us, HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells us, Kosh Alai Pidaschem. It's hard I don't want you to leave. You spent the whole Rosh Hashanah and Kippur and Avodah, all the days of Sukkot in Yerushalayim, Aliyah L'Regel. Don't leave yet. So we have one more day, so to speak, one-on-one with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. There's no specific Ushpizin. It's the Shekhinah itself, Kiviyachol, spending time with us. So we're working the days of Ushpizin up, Madrega, until we're ultimately able to spend a one-on-one with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Shmini Atzeres, which leads, of course, to Simchas Torah, being Sameach with the Torah. We shall be Zoicha to have a Chag Kosher v'Sameach.